Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Crazy Nights, and I'm one of your co-hosts, Jamie McNichol from Adelaide, and joining me as always is David from Melbourne. How you going, David?
Yeah, good, thanks, Jamie. Hello, everyone.
And last night, David, we had a bit of a footy game going on here in Melbourne, Collingwood versus Hawthorn, and looked like you're parading around celebrating the win last night.
Winners are grinners.
And for those guys who are seeing this, you might recognise a third person. He's on a co-host for a podcast that inspired this one, and his name is Michael Branfold, who works for Kiss Online. He's also done Drop the Needle with Michael and Mitch Lafon. And joining us from all the way from California State in America is Michael Branfold. How you going, Michael?
Good. How about yourself? How you guys doing?
Yeah, good.
Good, thanks,
Good.
Mike.
And just want to get a bit of the house chores out of the way first, David, before we start on this week. I want to applaud the viewers on YouTube. We've got over 1,000 views since we started. All up, people have joined us on episode 6 with Todd and John Reagan. We'll talk about Mitch Lafon tribute album, World with Heroes. That was our most viewed episode to date. We're averaging about 100 views per episode. We're starting off small. We're doing baby steps at the moment. But I thought, why not get Michael Branfold, the other third person in from three sides of the coin, and just talk about his experience with KISS and also how he got involved with the work that he's doing now and currently doing now with three sides of the coin, Drop the Needle, and all the other marketing things that he has done over the years. But before we get into that, I want to go on something that just came out in a couple of days. KISS has done another marketing thing, and they put their money into a
bowling team.
A football team, yeah.
Oh, a football team.
a football team.
Yeah.
Now, funny enough, when KISS was here on the Australian tour early this year, they did a promo for the AFL. And I thought, oh, sweet, we're going to get something for the Australian rules football here. But unfortunately, it's not to be. It's the Arena Football League. And they decided to call themselves, or LA team called LA KISS. I just want you guys' opinion. How long would this franchise will go for, and is it a wise move from KISS?
Go ahead.
Oh, what you think? Not knowing much about it, but I think Paul and Gina just put their money in it. And there's other people behind it, so they'll be probably the guiders of the success of the team anyway. So hopefully it lasts, and hopefully they do well.
And your opinion, Michael?
I think it's going to last as long as any football franchise is going to last in any city. There's so many other things that dictate whether franchises come or go. I mean, it's not just because Gene and Paul are involved that it's going to make it a success or a failure. I mean, this is professional football. It's not NFL, but it's the next level, to it.
Yeah.
It'll be as successful as any franchise could be successful in any city, and there's just so many different factors that are going to determine that. Is it a smart thing to do? Is it a good thing to do? Who are we to say? I mean, God, KISS is, they've done wrestling. Didn't they do something with the Professional Bull Riders Association 6 months ago? They've had coffins. Listen, nothing like this should shock anybody who's been a KISS fan for any period of time. Should be going, oh my God, what did this come from? It's like, it's KISS. Come on.
Yeah.
Then it's just a matter of, are you a fan of football? If you're not a fan of football and you don't like it, okay, great. If you're a fan of football and you're a fan of KISS, you're going to probably love this.
Love it.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I'm saying this at the start is because on Gene Simmons' Family Jewels, I know it's a bit scripted what Gene did here in Australia. He was the president of the Carlton football team. And he's trying to sign a star player to join the club. But lo and behold, this star player's been playing for the club for 10 years before, And I just think they've done it with the wrestling, they've done it with all the other things, and it didn't quite work out the way we, the fans, wanted to work. Because I remember when they did the wrestling, they were going to bring out the other three characters, the Star Child, the Space Ace, and the Catman. And unfortunately, WCW went downhill, and WWE bought them out. But with the football, totally different story. I mean, I'm a football fan. I follow the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL. And I just think, yeah, why not? Why not bring it out?
I mean, it'll be interesting to see what it does. Listen, it isn't the NFL, so people shouldn't think that this is professional NFL football. It's AFL, which is Arena Football League. That's nothing to laugh at. I mean, I was chatting with fans online going, listen, you've had 22 seasons. The AFL's been around for 22 seasons. This isn't one season fly-by-night little shady outfit. This isn't like when Vince McMahon tried to start the XFL football league. That came and went within 1 year. You know,
trying to bring the wrestling to football.
So AFL's been around. So you got to at least give the AFL credit for being around that long. Somebody must like it. If nobody liked it, it wouldn't have lasted. So
no, exactly.
Listen, you know, it's a football team like any football team you like out there. What makes good or bad football teams? We all know it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we'll just talk about Collingwood. Yeah,
and hey, listen, you know they're not going to get involved in something
if it's not going to work.
If it doesn't make business sense.
Yeah, exactly.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens. You know, is it gonna turn out exactly like they hope? Who knows? Like you said, the WCW didn't turn out like they hoped. There was great plans for it, but hey, things changed that you didn't count on. So
yeah, exactly. And I've been reading some comments on our Facebook page and also Three Sides of the Coin. The fans are turning against, I mean, as Three Sides of the Coin, Michael, you guys have your own opinions. You're not right, you're not wrong. The same as David and I. But the fans are simply to jump on board when we decide to make an outright opinion when it's about this football or KISS in general. They're entitled to do that. But I said before, a lot of fans like to put KISS in a square box and don't look outside the square.
Yeah.
And the thing is, with the football or the coffin or the condoms, I mean, we got a photo on the KISS Army Australia fan page on Facebook of the Gene Simmons, I won't call out that name, but it's a tampon pad.
Yeah, I've seen that photo.
Now, I know it's a bootleg, it's not actually artificial, but people just start to rip. I mean, even with the story with Tommy being in Ace makeup, and that is a debatable thing that's been going on for the last, 15 years almost?
10.
You know, but the thing is, it is what it is. We can't change it. You know.
Well, listen, the only thing you can change is what you want to do. So if it pisses you off so much that you hate it, then leave. Then leave. Don't go find a different band. But
don't follow Justin Bieber.
You know, don't sit here and make it your mission to convince all the other fans that they should hate it as well.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Again, some people are going to like it. There are people who are football fans. They're going, this is great. I live in Los Angeles. I can take my kids to this. This is going to be fun. Great. So if they're loving it, why does that bother other people so much?
The only thing I want to ask, Michael, will Mick Lafon go down there and take a pee break during the solos?
he'd take a pee break when they punt.
Yeah, going for goal or doing the rush behind you.
Exactly.
Yeah. But anyway, let's get on to the fun start. We'll get that out of the way. Let's get on to the fun start. Let's talk about you, Michael. You've worked with KISS for a few years back in the 80s, but I want to go before that. How did you become a KISS fan leading up to the work that you got involved with at the moment that you're in now?
1976 is when I became, I guess you could say I became a fan. That's when I got my first album, Rock and Roll Over.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I saw them before or after I got the album, but then I saw them on Paul Lynde's Halloween special. And I remember that was, so many people have the moment of the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. I never saw that. I was never a huge Beatles fan. Paul Lynde was my Beatles moment.
Yeah.
When I saw Kiss on the Paul Lynde Halloween special, I was just like, this is fucking amazing. I mean, look at these guys. I was a 12-year-old kid. I was just amazed by it. And, I think that show had that effect on a lot of Kiss fans. I think, if you go back in history and go, what was probably the most impactful TV appearance Kiss has ever done, the Paul Lynde Halloween special's got to be at least in the top 3.
Yeah.
It just ranks up there as a big moment in Kiss's history and connecting for fans. And, from that moment on, I was a fan, and it just got deeper and crazier as the years went on. I would say it was probably by 79, I was just full-on diehard, deep, hardcore Kiss fan. I want anything I can find. I went and stood in line for 4 hours to meet them at an in-store in Bloomington, Minnesota. And it just, from that moment on, Kiss has always been every part of my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Were there ever a stage in your fanhood of Kiss that you decide, this is not for me, Kiss is sold out, the music has changed? Was there ever a moment where you just backed off a bit and go, hey, this is not for me anymore?
The only time, or the only thing I backed off on, is going to see concerts. The last show I saw was in 2008.
Yeah.
Prior to 2008, I saw them on every single tour, every single opportunity I had from 1982 on. So basically from Creatures of the Night up to 2008, I saw them every opportunity I could. And in 2008, it just got tiring. Meaning, the set list by that point in time has just been ground to nothing. The stage, it was the same stage basically since the farewell tour. It was the same stage effects. It was the same everything. And I actually, I vividly remember that show. And it was at the end of the main set where they take the break and then they come back for the encore. And I turned to my girlfriend and I said, let's leave so we can beat traffic. Because I don't need to see the encore. I know exactly what 3 songs they're going to do. I exactly know what it's going to look like, sound like, and be said. And I wanted to get out of there beforehand so I didn't have to deal with traffic. Me 20 years before that would have never happened. I would have stayed till the house lights were up and security was kicking you out, and I wanted to watch them tear things down. So I didn't stop becoming a fan. I'm always a fan, have always been and always will be. I just got to the point where, you know what? My time is more valuable to me. Time and maybe the money of having to drive somewhere or buy a ticket or park or whatever, that I'm not going to go through the same motions again with them until they change things.
Well, that's exactly what I was kind of saying to Jamie last week, where about the set list. Why don't they sort of challenge themselves a bit more with songs? Maybe change 4 or 5 songs in the set for each night, like Metallica does. Because they basically never have the same set from night to night. They like when they were in Australia, every show the set list was different, and that's what kind of makes it interesting for me to go see them. So it's just what we're hoping that Kiss would kind of do the same thing.
I mean,
which they kind of did in when they were here for the Monster Tour. They changed a few songs every night, like what they played Wall of Sound in Perth, and then that got dropped. And then in Melbourne, there was they did a couple of songs different.
Adelaide had the first. Adelaide had the first take of Crazy Nights. They didn't play Crazy Nights in Perth. From Adelaide all the way through the tour, Crazy Nights was in the set list. But when you went to Melbourne, they dropped I Was Made for Loving You and Shandy for the rest of the tour till they got up to Mackay, and they did that little bit of Shandy for that girl that died up in Mackay. Her name was Shandy. But I'm with you, Dave, about challenging, but I also made a point that I don't think Paul's voice can stand up to it. I mean, I just watched an acoustic performance from this Arena Bowl ball. He sounds a lot better acoustically than he does live, and I believe because the mics and all that are turned up more than 10, Paul had to expand his voice out to the crowd a lot more than what he does acoustically. And, yeah, they need a break. They need to stop touring for a while, get Paul the rest of his voice. I mean, even when Gene said on the European meet and greet, Paul, save your voice, that says a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you know, back in 2008, the only two things I had issues with were the set list and the stage show. And even the set list wasn't as big a deal because I understand why they don't change it. And I understand it's really never going to change. But, you know, to not have a different stage, I mean, they used that same stage for basically 10 years. That's what it seemed like. And it was just like, that is just absolutely boring as hell. The stepped amps. Oh, we put video screens in front of them one year instead of the amp covers. It's like, come on, it's still the same thing. So that's what really got to me. Now, in 2009 is when they started the Sonic Boom tour. That's when Paul's voice changed. Something happened.
Yeah.
I mean, through 2007 and 2008, he sounded fine at the shows I went to see. 2009, all of a sudden, I remember, you know, the start of the tour, people going, oh, his voice cracked a little. Oh, he's got a cold, or, you know, he's not feeling well. And that happens on bands. But it then just seemed to continue, and I think we've all seen it. It's continued onward on every tour since then. It's had good days and bad days, but it got to the point where, like for the Monster Tour set list, I could live with it. The stage, phenomenal. So if it was those two things, I'd be going to it. But since 2008, I'm just seriously fought with, you know, Paul Stanley. I've got vivid memories of Paul Stanley, the lead singer, from 1982 up to 2008. Monster vocals, monster frontman, singing his ass off. And I'm not sure I want to go to a show now where I'm going to leave that show, and it could be the last show I ever go see of Kiss, because none of us at this point know how you know, Kiss is at the tail end of their career now, not at the front. So this could be you know, for you guys, could be the last time they ever come to Australia. Who knows? You know, at this point, you do not know. So do you want your last memory, or here's what I'm going to say. I'm not even asking you. I don't want my last memory of such a great vocalist on stage to have a bad night where he's cracking and can't sing and can't hit the notes. I don't want that to be the last memory of a Kiss concert. I want that last memory to be 2008, where he was singing his ass off. So that's sort of where I'm at this point in the game. Is now, okay, set list is acceptable. Stage is by far, you know, starting with the Monster Tour in Australia into the Monster Tour here, they've proven they came up with a kick-ass stage. But now there's just, you know, I'm being real honest. For me, I don't know. I want that to be my very last memory of such a great, impactful vocalist in my life. To be, my God, he couldn't sing "Heaven's on Fire." Oh God, that Crazy Night sounded terrible. I don't know. He could have a good night, but he could have. It's an equal chance it could be a bad night.
Yeah. I was at David's place last weekend in Melbourne for a late birthday present for him, and we were having this bit of discussion about the tours and how long it's going to last. I was saying this to David, and I don't know if you remember, David, but I always remember my first wow factor, and it was in '95 when Kiss came back after 15 years of not touring our shores. But the other wow factor I got this year was actually having my first meet and greet with Kiss in full makeup. Like, I had met the band without makeup, every member by the one that has passed on. That was a different wow factor. And I'm agreeing with Michael here that I want to be able to go to a show and say, you know, this is just kicked me in the ass again. Now, according to the stage and the set list for the Adelaide concert, yeah, I had a wonderful time with the experience that I've got with the meet and greet and all that type of jazz. But I didn't get that wow factor as I did back in '95 when I was literally off my seat from start to finish, and I couldn't leave the building because Mum had to drag me out of the thing. Now she regrets taking me to that concert because she went to the 1980 concert in Australia. I was 1 year old. 15 years later, I'm going to my first concert with my mum, and she now regrets taking me to that concert. But going back to my point, I don't think at this present time there'll be another wow factor, even though it'll be a killer concert or whatever. But for me personally, going, holy shit, this is fucking amazing. You know, Adelaide for me, I'll give it an 8.
No,
95, I'll give it about a 20 out of 10. That was phenomenal.
I mean, I think they can always give you a wow factor. But up until 2009, I never, at any point in my head, did I ever have the concern of there was going to be a, oh my God factor of what happened.
Yeah.
There was never a point in any tour where I was like, okay, there was a slight disappointment that the stage wasn't as cool as what I'd hoped it would be, but there was never like, you know, what was that? No, what was that? You know, and I've had those moments watching some of the videos where it's just like, oh, God, it's painful to hear him try and sing that. And, you know, if I have no idea what's causing it, I'm not a vocal specialist at all, and I'm not even going to try and get into it. If it's something that can get corrected and it comes back, then great. That problem isn't an issue because there will definitely be a wow factor. I know if his voice was 100% and I went to the show now, I would be like, wow, look at that spider stage. That is so cool. Look at Gene spitting blood on that ginormous video screen. I know that stuff can still happen. It's just like I said, there now is that new factor of the anti-wow. You know, there could be an anti-wow that might show up at your show tonight. You might get lucky and have all wow, or you might get a little unlucky and have a little bit of anti-wow in there. And, you know, I don't want, again, I just don't want that to be potentially my last live experience with Van.
Exactly.
I want just such amazing memory. I mean, listen, I saw Van Halen. The only time I've seen Van Halen in concert was 1982.
On the Dawn Down tour?
Yeah. I still have such memories of just being like face melting. Sounds, loud, just everything. And, you know, as much as I wanted to see Van Halen on their reunion tour, because David Lee Roth is back, and for me, Van Halen is only David Lee Roth. No disrespect to Sammy as a vocalist, but he's not Van Halen. I couldn't go to the reunion tour because it's just like, I know that will never live up to that intense moment, that memory I've got of that show, and I don't want that new show to become the last memory of Van Halen of going, well, David's not kicking quite as high as he used to, and you know, the stage wasn't quite as monstrous, and you know, I want to keep the memories I got. I don't want to risk ruining them.
But just before we go on to your experience with Kiss and that, I just want to go on to that point with the reunion with Van Halen. Do you get that type of reaction when Kiss came out on the reunion, that what you first witnessed back in '76, fast forward 20 years later, was the memory the same for you, or was it a completely different chapter?
Oh, it was a completely different thing because I had never seen the original four in concert.
Okay.
You know, I had met the original four at a meet and greet, but the first concert was Creatures of the Night. So it was only 2 of the original 4. So when the reunion hit, you know, that everything about that was complete wow factor. I mean, the set list was different, the stage was different, everything basically was completely new and fresh. And then from the reunion on to Farewell, it was actually still pretty good because you had a different stage during the Psycho Circus, and you had different set lists during Psycho Circus. And I even remember opening night of Farewell Tour in Phoenix when I saw the night before the unveiling of the stage, and I was like, wow, this stage is amazing. Look at all of the amps and the stacks. And so even during the Farewell Tour, it looked great. And the Farewell Tour, they injected some 80s songs into the set.
Yeah,
so
Heaven's on
even
Fire.
then, it was still, but from the Farewell Tour all the way up until 2009, you know, you could even debate later than that, things just were stale, and it was just like on repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. It was just like, that's where it really wore thin, tour after tour after. Now, and again, I completely understand it might not be the same for guys like you who didn't have KISS coming through every summer or every 18 months. So it's different, but for me, seeing KISS for as many times as I'd seen them prior and for as many times as they kept coming through, it was just like, guys, it's like beating a dead horse here. It's just, you know, I cannot keep, there's no excitement. There's no energy. There's no, oh my God, I'm going to see KISS. What is going to happen tonight? I think a lot of that is now back with Monster. It's just the unknown about the vocals.
Well, just one last thing on that wow factor. I think here in Australia, David, if you can agree, the last really revamped set list was the Rock the Nation tour here, when they had Creatures of the Night, War Machine, Unholy.
I would say that was the same thing for here. I mean, that's when they told, you know, they threw in every night. They had an absolute deep cut that went in that was different at every city. You know, fans went nuts for it. Now, why they don't continue to do it, I don't know. You know, we could, as KISS fans, you could debate that until we're blue in the face, and it really doesn't matter. But I agree. Rock the Nation tour was probably the last time we really had a completely changed up, different set list, night to night, excitement of, you know, I remember, you know, because I was still working KISS Online at the time, you know, fans were like, all right, what was the track they played last night? You know, people were eager to hear what was the deep cut that got pulled out at last night's show, because they knew something was going to change every night.
Well, let's go straight into the next bit of interview. Go, Dave.
Well, speaking of KISS Online, Mike, how did you get involved with that?
So in 1995, I built my first website, Kiss Otaku. It was, the honest truth, it was nothing more than a way for me to learn how to program in HTML. I was working in computer departments and reading all of my computer magazines. People were talking about this new language, HTML, and it's the internet, and it's going to be this big thing. And for my own educational purposes, it's like, okay, I need to learn about this. Well, 1995, there were no books on HTML. No. There was no software written to write websites. So you had to teach yourself how to do this. So, you know, and by doing that, you went to somebody else's website, you looked at the source code, you stole their source code, you opened it up in your text editor, you changed the tags and the codes, and you uploaded it to your website, and you would see what it does. So I said, if I'm going to teach myself how to program, I'm going to at least do it in something that's fun. I'm going to build a KISS website, as opposed to, I think I was working for a home improvement company at the time. I'm not going to build a website of lawnmowers and hammers and saws. It's boring. So I'll build it on KISS. And, you know,
sorry, Michael. Did Bob fix Kiss with the tools that you were just talking about? They go.
So, this was around the convention tour, and I just, I started building it as a fan, literally. It's like, okay, I'm a Kiss fan. I've been a Kiss fan since 76. It's, 95. What is the stuff I want to know as a Kiss fan? So I would try and find that information on the internet. I'd have slowly other fans would start emailing me, oh, did you hear about this? And I'd start posting this stuff. And, what started out as just a learn how to program turned into a committed passion of spending 40 hours a week just maintaining and building and updating the website, plus having a full-time 40-hour-a-week job.
Yeah.
And, I launched that in 95, and by 98, it had really just exploded. I mean, Kiss Otaku had really just taken off. And I had briefly done some work with Gene prior to 98 around the History 2 book.
Okay.
He had asked me if I would help gather material from the internet. Fans would submit stuff to me, and I would gather stuff. So, I had a P.O. box, and fans would mail stuff in, and I'd gather it, and I'd put it all together, and I'd send it off to Gene. And, I just helped gather material for History 2. And I can't even remember when History 2 came out. Was that 96? Something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't long after.
97, something around
96 or 97, yeah.
So 98, he had called and left me a voicemail message at home one afternoon that basically said, hey, Mike, it's Gene Simmons. I've got a business proposition I'd like to discuss with you. Please call me back. Yeah, okay, what that could be anything. Who knows what that means? And I called him back, and he basically just said, what are you doing for a living? Would you be interested in, running our website, Kiss Online, which we're going to be launching? And I said, sure, but I need to, I'm not just going to take it blindly. I mean, I've got a full-time job. I'm living somewhere. I've got insurance. I've got benefits. I'm not just giving all that up to go work for Kiss. And he's like, call Doc McGee, talk to Doc McGee, work it out with Doc McGee, and if it works out, great. That was August of 98. By October of 98, it had all been worked out. I'd been hired to work for their merchandising company, which at that time was called Sony Signatures, which became Signatures Network, which is now Live Nation Merchandise. So by October of 98, I was hired, and they had moved me from Chicago out to San Francisco, and I was working full-time. And I remember, I think my first day was like October 15th or October 17th, and that was of 98, and Halloween of 98 is when they kicked off the Psycho Circus tour. So within 2 weeks, they're like, okay, you're flying down to Los Angeles. Here's all access passes. Go for it. I'm sort of like a kid in a candy store who doesn't know what you can do in the candy store.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, I've got all access, but what does that mean?
Yeah.
Where can I, what does an all access land? No, there's no manuals they give you. Nobody sits down and explains it's just sort of like, here you go. And, you just sort of learn at some point. It's like, oh no, that doesn't get you across this line, but basically here I was, a Kiss fan running around the camera, taking pictures, videotaping, doing whatever I needed to put up on the website. And, that was my job from 98 until I left in 2005. I mean, I became less and less involved towards the end, because we then started having programmers and developers and other people that were involved. But first couple years, it was 100% built by me. I mean, I hand coded it. Even Adobe, because at the time I was using software called Adobe Go Live, which was Adobe's version of like Dreamweaver. And back in, 99, 2000 maybe, they did a story on me, how Kiss Online was using Adobe Go Live because to their knowledge, it was the largest website on the internet using Adobe Go Live to build and manage a website. I mean, I was literally doing it all by hand. You know, WordPress doesn't exist. All of the stuff that we take for granted today, which makes, you know, YouTube didn't even exist. You know,
exactly.
You know, to put video up there, we had to buy a $3,000 QuickTime streaming server to stream video, thumbnail size video, not this. God knows, not full screen. I mean, you're literally talking thumbnail size, and it could only stream to 2 people at a time. That's all the license allowed for. You know, MP3s didn't really come around until 99. You know, I remember we were doing a lot of stuff using Real Audio, because Real Audio was doing a lot of streaming. So you could stream using a real media server. You know, it was a absolutely completely different time on the internet. And also remember, your connection to the internet, for the most part, was probably an AOL dial-up modem. High speed bandwidth, high speed internet did not exist. So, you know, if I wanted to upload pictures, it might take me an hour to upload just 6 pictures, because that's just what it was. So, you know, I sit back now and go, God, you know, if we had everything that exists now, it would have been fucking amazing. I mean, you know, I mean, you could be at the show, take the pictures and video, and upload it straight right from your phone. I used to have to take the video, take the photos, run back to the hotel room that night, stay up another 2 or 3 hours after the show using a slow computer, slow AOL connection, editing, getting some stuff up, so by that next morning, there was at least a little something for fans to see. I mean, I've edited in sitting in airports. I've edited sitting in airplanes, because it's like, it just took so much time to edit little clips back then.
And I know exactly how you feel when you're doing the editing. I mean, I used to run a KISS radio show here in Adelaide 3-4 years ago. And just to doing the editing from the recording studio to put it up on my website, it was only a little website at that time, it took me fucking hours, even days for that incident. Turning an MP4 format into an MP3 format. And I was like going back to kindergarten, like, I've got to get all the freaking instruction guide manual book to say, how the freaking hell you do this?
Oh, yeah. You know, KISS Otaku and then the KISS Online, you know, it literally was a completely different world for anybody who was developing websites. You either were hand coding very slowly and very long, or you were buying software that literally, I mean, I remember the company I worked for was looking at software that would have cost $500 million, no, was it $500,000 just to buy this software to allow you to basically kind of do what WordPress does now. You know, and it was just like, are you kidding me? You know, you're going to spend $500,000 to buy software to run a website. How do you pay for that? How do you cover the costs of that?
Yeah, exactly. You have to get.
I mean, that's what it was like back. That's what it was like back then. Now, you know, you can get websites for free. WordPress is free. You know, editing videos, you don't have to worry about bandwidth and streaming. You just put everything up onto YouTube. MP3, you know, everything that you had to worry about, like 98, 99, 2000, 2001, for sure, those years, those worries are all gone now. It's just, you know, it's a different world to be able to build a website now, or not even build it, because by the end of when I was working with them, I wasn't building. I was gathering content. I was a content manager. I was a content generator. You know, I remember the first digital camera I used working with KISS was a Sony Mavica. And if anybody remembers them, you actually saved the photos on a 3.5-inch floppy disk.
Yeah.
You'd put a 3.5-inch floppy disk into the camera. You'd save the photos on the floppy disk. So that tells you right there how large and what the quality of those photos were if they were being saved on a floppy disk. And you know, I'd have to run around a show with a stack of floppy disks in a fanny pack because I'd fill up one, take it out, put the next one in. Listen, you know, now you know this iPhone.
Yeah, got a little SIM card now.
Jesus, it's got, you know, I've got 64 gigabytes on here. I can shoot video. I can edit video right here. Listen, totally different world.
It is. And that's one of the reasons why I got you onto this podcast. Well, we won't call it podcast. We'll call it a video talk show. We're just starting off, and I'm having a not heated argument with my producer, who is my partner of this show, but I'm just saying, how can we expand our territory of the viewers? And I think I spoke to you before regarding this, Michael, that I want to be clear, and I'm not being critical or controversial. I mean, being controversial do create a lot of listeners, and I've done that on the radio show too. But what I'm trying to get is, here in Australia, there's been people arguing and saying, all right, we don't get kissed on the radio. Why are we just getting the same old, rock and roll all night, gotta go rock and roll to you, Beth, Sean A, something, I was made for loving you. And I said to myself at 95, and I was, well, no, even before 95, I was 10 years of age, and a double cassette tape, and I used to record my own voice and playing KISS stuff, and I was doing my own radio show inside my bedroom. And I had the dream to say, one day, I'm going to host my own radio show, and people at school said, you're crazy. Yeah, I am crazy. And this is why this podcast is called Crazy Nights. But, hey, it's not the same name as the album. We're Nights here sitting at the round table.
Right.
And we all crazy KISS fans. But going back to that, we had fans saying, you know, why haven't we got KISS on the radio? And I said, okay, I'll put my hand up. I'll make it worthwhile. Get on the radio. Fans started to turn away. Now, I had more fans in Melbourne, let alone here in my hometown where I am now in Adelaide, listening to the show. And I had more listeners overseas listening via broadband or bandwidth on the internet. And this has come back to this podcast, and I want to ask a question regarding the three sides of the coin. I had KISS Army fans here in Australia getting behind it. They also voted for the name of this podcast, but the fans not really jumping on board. And I'm having heated arguments, not heated arguments, but heated debates with my partner, who was the producer, saying, why is it? Why isn't these fans? They ask for it, they say they'll be behind it, and all this type of judge, and now it's just come down to a minimization. And I said this before to David and other people involved. We get more people from overseas, and it doesn't care where we get the fans from. But the question I want to ask Michael is, did you ever have this problem at the start of Three Sides of the Coin, or even any other one like Drop the Needle or whatever you've done, to get that fan base happening and just what it is became now? Now you got a shop on for Free Size and all that type of thing. But before that, do you have the problem at the start where you start off, well, you had limited resources? That's what we've got. We're trying to get our episodes up on iTunes, and it's just a pain in the ass. And I just want to ask, did you ever have this problem at the start, Michael? Because I'm not being down on us. We're doing a great show. I believe Dave and I are doing a wonderful job.
You know, I think here's where I always came from with any of the video shows I do or any of the websites I've ever built, going all the way back to Kiss Otaku in '95. I never worried about the audience.
Okay.
To some extent, I always said, I'm just going to give what I think is the best I can do and that I love. And I don't care if I can't get an audience that's local regional, wherever. If the audience finds me from any place, that's great. Because it's the internet, I never focus anymore of like, well, okay, where's our U.S. audience? Where's our whatever audience? It's wherever the audience is. The audience is the world. You've got one country, the world is your audience. And then if you want, you can then look into, like on Facebook, you can look at, okay, well, where are your people coming from? Oh, here's the top 10 countries that people are. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Do we do anything to target those countries? Nothing. I've always just worked at delivering what I think is the absolute best show or content you can give. And if you keep doing that on a consistent basis, and that's really important, consistency, whether you decide that's once a day, once a week, once a month, but you got to stick to whatever your commitment is. Give it time, the audience is going to find you, and it's going to build, and the word of mouth spreads, and you just keep doing it. Because if you get worried about, well, there's only X amount of viewers, or this country isn't tuning in, then you start worrying too much about, well, does anybody care? Is it good? Is it bad?
Yeah.
Don't worry about that, because at that point in time you start talking yourself out of it. Nobody likes this. Nobody likes us. I think the first 3-side show, when we put it up on YouTube, probably had 30, maybe 70 views. I mean,
really?
Nobody had heard of it. And it was just a matter of, okay, let's just stick to it. Let's keep doing it. Let's keep talking about it. Let's keep telling people about it. Let's keep, let's just keep doing it. And you talked about controversy. I'm not afraid of controversy. Let's put it that way.
No.
I don't think you should do controversy just for the sake of getting attention.
No.
You have to believe in what you're doing. I mean, that's so if you believe in what you're doing and then what you do is controversial, that's fine. But, if you are big anti-Tommy Thayer and you decide to start posting you love Tommy Thayer because that'll stir people up, that's not going to go over, because people are going to know it's not really you.
Yeah.
That's not the controversy you want. You need controversy, and when you get right down to it, it doesn't become controversy when you look at it this way. You need whatever you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just talk what is your belief. And that was the premise of 3 Sides from the very beginning. Is it's not a news show. We're not here to disseminate news. We're here to just talk about what the 3 of us think. We don't really give a crap what the rest of the people think. It's great that they agree with us. You always love it when people agree with you. But if they don't agree with us, I don't care. Because the show was only going to always be about us and what we want to say and what we want to think. And we've stuck to that really firmly. And believe me, as it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, there's a lot of people coming out of the woodwork saying, well, you could make the show even better if you did this, and if you talked about that, and if you said this. And I'm like, but we're already this big because we're doing it this way. You're saying we'll get bigger by changing the show? How do you know changing the show doesn't make it smaller? And that, the point is, people like what it is right now.
Yeah.
If I change what we're doing right now, they may not like it. You might like it because it was your suggestion, but what's interesting here is I've never been in a band in my life. As much as I work in music, I've never been a band. I'm not a musician. But 3 Sides of the Coin has sort of given me the first taste of what it could be like to be in a band.
Yeah.
Because you've got personalities in the band. You've got me, Mitch, and Tommy, and we all have our different thoughts and opinions, and we want to do different things. And, at the end of the day, we've got to compromise and give and take and stick to what's true to what we wanted this band to be about.
Yeah.
As a band gets bigger, all of a sudden the fans think they know what's better.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, what are we talking about? Kiss here. We've got a world of fans who think they know what's better for Kiss.
Yeah.
And I've always told bands, and now I'm actually kind of experiencing it firsthand, you can't worry about making everybody else happy.
No.
Because you're never going to make everybody else happy, and therefore you're only going to end up actually making some people unhappy.
Yeah.
So you have to do whatever it is that makes you happy first. You got to be selfish. It's about you.
Yeah.
You got to listen. There's nothing wrong. You got to be damn selfish. It's all about you first. If you love what you're doing, then you hope to God your fans also love it. And I sit back and I sit here and go, well, do you remember an era in Kiss when they stopped doing what they thought was great and they started doing what the critics thought would have been better? Does anybody remember an album called The Elder?
The Elder, yes. I was just about to say that.
I'm not saying The Elder sucked. I think it's a great album. But
I do too.
It is something where Gene and Paul have admitted they started listening to the critics because they wanted to keep the critics they wanted to give the critics something that the critics would like. So they thought they would like this. Wow, The Wall just came out. Bob Ezrin, let's do the same thing except Kiss do it.
And that's the thing. When I was in the radio show, the executive director said, "Do not be your own worst critic. Don't listen to your own criticism.
No,
because you're the best criticism that you can ever give yourself.
You got to
rather than the fans.
Yeah, you've got to just if you don't like it, then change it. But if you love it and you believe in it, you stick to it. I mean, again, let's go all the way back to Kiss in 1972, 73. You could debate when all this is happening. But you got four guys who were like, God damn it, we believe in a band that is going to look completely different.
Yeah.
Take no prisoners.
And you've got record labels saying, take that makeup off. No way. We would rather leave than take the makeup off. We believe in what we're doing. We're sticking to this. 73, 74, 75. It finally starts cracking because they didn't give in. They kept doing what they believed in, even though every critic, every reviewer, even music fans, I wasn't a fan in 73 or 74, but, you've got people who are like, the fuck, these guys are not real musicians. They're running around in makeup and costumes. They can't play music. And they lived with that their entire life. I mean, I've gotten into debates with people that, when Lick It Up came out, that's why they got recognition, because people all of a sudden decided to take them seriously because they weren't wearing makeup. Hey, it's the same band, it's the same music, they just took the makeup off. But all of a sudden, you think they're more serious.
Yeah.
The whole
the
whole point,
go.
I was going to say, the whole point is whether it's your show or anybody else's shows, you just got to do what you want to do. You can't be afraid to push buttons. Can't be afraid to upset people. You can't be afraid that people are going to hate you. Gene and Paul have always said, I don't care if you love me or you hate me. Just get out of the middle. Because if you're in the middle, you don't care about me. You don't know about me. If you hate me, I love that. I love that. I love that we'll say things on three sides of the coin that'll get people so riled up that they hate us. That's great.
Oh, yeah.
You're still talking about us. And guess what?
Yeah.
You're going to tune in next week to see what other outrageous thing we talk about that you think is stupid and sucks and why you hate us again. Or next week, and here's the thing, it's a very fine line between love and hate.
Yes.
You can love somebody, you can love a band, and then they do something so stupid that pisses you off. You're like, I hate these guys now. And the opposite could be true. It's like, I've always hated this band. I've always hated this band. Wow, this new album
is good.
Great. I love them.
That's what probably happened around. That's probably what happened around the Revenge album. All the fans came out of the freaking woodworks again. It's like, where the freaking hell you been? But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's not as necessarily as hard to move somebody from love to hate or hate to love as it is to move somebody who just doesn't even know or care.
Yeah.
If you don't care, you've got to at least get them to start caring about you enough to then decide, do they love you, they hate. That's tough.
Yeah.
So, you know, and it's tough for people when you're creating content to have people tell you it sucks.
Yep.
You know, I can tell you that the one thing I've developed since 1995, being in the KISS world online, is very thick skin. I don't, you could tell me I suck. You can call me whatever names you want. I don't care. It's not going to upset me. But, you know, if you haven't been in this long enough and you do something and you push the button on somebody and you get that Facebook message or the comment that says, you guys are just assholes. You are blah, 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 blah. You're like, God, what did I do? What did I do? You know, you feel like you want to make everything better and fix it. But the reality is you don't need to. You don't need to. Let them think what they want. And you think what you want. And guess what? That's the way of the world.
Yeah. But the reason why I'm laughing along with you, Michael, I've been listening to your show probably for the last 3 months, close to 4 months now. And for the fans who don't know and who are on Three Sides of the Coin Facebook page or website, there's a new segment out that's just been around for the last months and a bit called Kiss Shockers from Mitch's Locker. I was the guy that got the name now. Lo and behold, there's a Facebook page that's made it. I was blown away.
Well, no, listen, you're blown away. We're blown away by that. I mean, I remember, you know, when we started that, and then you know, before one of the shows, I'm like, hey, guys, why don't we just start this as a segment? Mitch, you seem to always have stuff. Bring it in. And then you brought up the name, and we're like, okay, let's roll with the name. So what this is none of this is a grand plan here. There was no grand, Three Sides of the Coin had no grand plan to become what it is today. Zero.
Yeah.
Swear to God, swear on my mother, grandmother. The only thing we intended were the three of us to do a show where we could talk about KISS fans, and that was it. It just took on a life of its own. And to your point, when I saw the KISS Shockers from Mitch's Locker Facebook page, I told Mitch and Tommy, I'm like, guys, there's a Facebook page about part of the show that's being run by a fan. I go, this is amazing. I go, you know, we're hitting things that we never even dreamed about having happen around the show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, I probably would have done T-shirts for the three of us to wear. Would I have imagined that we now have fans buying T-shirts and wearing them to KISS shows and sending us pictures of the T-shirt?
Yeah.
Not in a million years did we ever envision any of that. Sure, we would have always hoped and dreamed it gets bigger. But I guess what I'm saying is this wasn't the three of us or even me sitting down beforehand drawing out this grand plan of, okay, here's how we're going to take over the KISS podcast world, and step one is this and step two is this. Listen, there's no steps. We get on Skype once a week and we sort of go, okay, what the hell are we going to talk about? Now let's try this. No, I don't really feel about that. Oh, what do you think about this topic? Oh, okay, that's all right. Record. And I can tell you that there's been more than one occasion where we get done with a show and we're like, that was an honest to God train wreck. That show sucked. We have thought that at least clearly about 3 shows, and I can't, off the top of my head, I can't recall which ones right now. But then
I do remember. Well, sorry to cut you off, Mike. I do remember when you had a lot of power black, especially with Tommy. It started off in one side and went over to the other room. We had no light.
We've had technical and it's not just technical problems. We've also had shows where the topic just didn't. When we were all said and done, it just didn't feel like we really
Jumping the shark.
Nothing gel. We didn't really get anything that was really interesting. But then we put it up the next week, and boom, it just blows up, and we're just like, see, go figure. If we had sat down and planned it, we would have said trash that show because it didn't feel good.
Yeah, the jumping the shark was that the jumping the shark episode when you got criticized for jumping the shark?
Again, I don't even remember. I mean, so much because none of it is literally planned. We are literally doing every show because that's what we are passionate about talking about that day, and it's just what comes out. There's no scripts. There's no, hey, Mitch, you got to say this line so I can feed off of it and It's not television where we're trying to push buttons. We're just talking. We're having fun. I mean, as you guys or any KISS fan knows, when you get together with your buddies and you're having beers or having a barbecue or whatever, what do? You rib each other. You give each other a hard time. You tell stories. Okay, you're watching three guys do that. That's literally all we're doing. The fact that we've gelled so much and we've got a chemistry and that people are really connecting to it. I mean, because that's what we're hearing from a lot of people is, God, I feel like I don't have KISS fans where I live. So I watch you guys and I feel like now I have somebody that says exactly what I feel and I can be part of it. It's just like, dude, we never in a million years thought this would become that we would connect with people that way. And it makes it amazing that that's happening, but it also makes it more protective of, okay, we can't mess with what we got. Because what we got right now is what's working, and let's not over-script it and over-prepare it. We got to stick to, the rawness that we were doing 35 episodes ago. It's sort of, sort of like, I don't know. I mean, you could sit here and go, when KISS was doing Destroyer, do you stick to the rawness of Dress to Kill, or do you figure out it's time to slick things up and bring Bob Ezra in and, looking back, what do you do? And there's a lot of temptation and urges to mess with things.
Yeah.
And I think the easy answer is to do it. Sure, it's all right, yeah, if it's going to make it better, I'll do it. But the harder thing is to go, no, it's not do it. Stick to what you guys like.
Yep, and I just have to say, David, as much as you ripped me being a Collingwood supporter, I ripped the hell out of you being a Hawthorn supporter. But that's what we do. Well, Michael, I better get cruising. I've got a football game to push buttons on. I'm going to start hipping.
Great. I love chat. I mean, this is what our show is. I just love chatting with fans.
Yep. Yeah. And also, to the listeners out there who view this, there's a new photo up on our fan page on Facebook of David and I standing in the between. Well, not in between, but
Elmo with the trumpet in his hand.
Yes. The producer of this show is going to do a bit of a photo crop. We put Paul Stanley's makeup on it, playing a trumpet, and that's gonna go down well. And I just love the photo, and it's really awesome. And yeah, we'll keep doing what we're doing. Great advice that you just gave us, Michael, and we're just gonna keep on keeping on and keep rolling. We're gonna do this probably. Yeah, we're going to keep on doing this till we go to a nursing home, probably.
I mean, that's what it's about. As long as you're having fun doing it, just keep doing it. That's it.
All right, guys. We got to get cruising. Michael, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'll be tuning in next week on your episode.
Great. Thanks so much, guys. And, you let me know when this show is up, like always, and we'll let all of our fans know.
Yes, and you can always join us again anytime when you're free. Just let us know. Okay. We'll get you on. If you want one of us on your show, by all means.
You got it, guys.
Quickly, Mike, is there any of the the three sides of the coin guitar picks left?
I've probably got a couple here, and if you guys want, do you want to figure out some form of a contest for your show?
What type of contest?
Yeah.
Who's got the longer tongue? Who got the more Vaseline on them?
You guys figure it out. You know, you come up with some homework for your show. That's a contest, and the winner. I can send you some guitar pick. I'll send you like half a dozen guitar picks. You guys want one each for yourself, and then you can give away the other 4.
Yeah, cool.
All right. We'll do that bit of a brainstorming, David. That's our homework, but we'll give some homework to the listeners.
Yeah.
Michael, like I said, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
An honour. All right, guys. David, you can go and watch the replay of last night. I'm going to knock some guys out on the playing field. All right, guys. Join us next week on Crazy Nights, and also join Michael and the boys on Three Sides of the Coin. All right, guys. Catch you later.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
There you go.